Better Call Saul Season 6 is here, titled Saul the Gone, and we get to understand more and more the meaning of this title. After last week's episode where Saul's identity is discovered, he escapes and wants to find a way to run away once again, but we get to see what happens. The beginning of the episode was different from what we expected, and it's with the car crash. This is reminiscent of that time he was with Mike on the desert and that horrible moment in his life where he suffered so much PTSD, and this was back in episode 8 of season 5. However, we add more to what happened in the desert where they found water in the desert, like this magical thing that they suddenly appeared. If this was, you get to understand more about how they survive in the desert. Saul wants to split the money, the 7 million, and they talk about what if situation where they could, be take the money and run away. But how it's gonna be important to the finale is something that we're gonna see. Now let's talk about their life and the way to discover more about the characters. So Mike says about traveling to the day that his first vid, meaning how that decision affect his life going forward. And this scene about the past and the people in our way, discovering about what the changes we have done. And Saul talks about, hey, traveling back and focusing on the most important thing at that time, which for him was money. But in my opinion, I believe that if you ask a question again to the character, he would have said going to that moment they went after Howard. Now, the episode continues with moments after the last one. Saul escapes and drives away. Marion gives all the details and how she is in the side on making sure the police department gets him. Saul has a plan to go back to his apartment and get the things, including the diamonds, as a way to pay for the vacuum. However, this doesn't go as planned. He escapes as the police is close to getting him, and this was a starting high action episode at the beginning. Obviously, we see Saul, a man that has to do whatever he has to escape, but I just love how he's found. Police are everywhere looking for him, and what other option does he have? There's no way of getting him out of there. He's captured in a moment, but he goes to the trash can, and that reminds me of that scene in the past where he goes to get the Sandpiper documents, and we get to understand what he wants to use a diamond to escape. However, he is captured, something that we all expected. Saul is finally caught, and the show goes in another direction. I mean, something that I was not expecting. I wanted to see something different. But what is going to be the show now? Well, he is captured and he thinks about his mistakes and his life. There's no way to go. He has to fight for his life, as we get to see in the episode. Also, when in the police department, he sees his commercial and his past and his decisions. But who is going to call? Well, this is one of the unexpected thing about this, about who's going to be his lawyer, and that is none other than Bob. I was not sure about this, but this was huge. Now, he is arrested, something that we all know was gonna happen. We did not saw it any other way, but it's how Bob is the one that is gonna be his lawyer, and this was super unexpected. And I feel that the moment that he saw Kim, that made him do the right thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about that in a moment. But whatever is gonna happen, we know it's not gonna end well. He is fighting for 7 years, 8 years, and giving information and reducing his sentence. But he wanted to do the right thing at the end, which is something that we see in the courtroom and something that is built from this moment where he's captured. He knows that he's captured, and he tries to do he tries to do his scams. He tried to do whatever Slip and Jimmy has always done, which is run away from a situation and do it different. Now, something that was huge in this episode was the return of Hank's wife. This was a huge surprise, but how she plays into the sentence of Saul Goodman. If you remember, this was not Saul doing. However, we know that he helped who did this, which was Jesse and Walt. Gene explains and tried to reason. We miss Trader, even captured. We can even see his lies. But he tries to tell a story about what happened during the night with the meeting with Walter and Jesse and how that meeting created something different in his life. But it was him that did all of this and something that connects to the courtroom. He provides details about everything that happened with Walter and how he's the victim in all of this. However, it doesn't matter how he was victimized. He still did crime. Throughout this is Bob who's helping him. Now, I just love about all of this that this lawyer has not gotten against Gene, a criminal as well as a lawyer. So we see him, this being Jimmy, as a lawyer in the scenes. Now Saul is going to to jail for 35 to 90 year sentences. However, we get to see that he has been reducing that to 7 years, which was like wow for all the things that he did. But his this sentence changed, and I just love seeing this. Now, and Gene is given his rules. Saul Goodman, after all, including the jail that he wants to go, as well as spilling details on everything and everyone. He's throwing everyone under the bus, including Kim. So this was like, wow, he really doesn't care about anyone. But I think he changes this when he was in the courtroom. That moment, I want to go ahead and talk about that in a moment. Now, we think he's in jail, however, he's with Walt, and this is a moment before he escaped with the vacuum. This was another conversation about time travel and the regrets. This was so hilarious, and this is, of course, that moment where he goes to Omaha, and the moment as well where Walter is taken away by the vacuum guy. This was back in season 4. Now, how the episode progressed from this? Well, we have that question of the time travel, and this connects to the book that we see later with Chuck, and this was a full kind of moment where the book talks about regrets about a man that travels to see his life, something that we see with the show, and it was something that I talk about back in season 1, a breakdown of season 6. I talk about this, which was super interesting to see how they connect everything. But of course, it's about regrets and the regrets in one's life. Walter regrets is the way that he quit his company and did not went after this, and how this decision affected his life. So still doesn't have any regret, but of course he talks about his that. But of course, he talks about it, what happened with his knee, something that we all wanted to know how he got that injury, and he's describing this moment. So, but this was a nice moment about regret, and going from everything that connects to this episode, this decision of regret is what allows him to make the right choice and the right decision. But this is important because it's focused in regrets. Now we see him traveling. Where is he going? Where he's going to jail, but for he has to go to the courtroom so he can be sentenced 7 years. But however, this all changes. But he wants to know about what happened to Kim and that decision about changing his approach about instead of pushing Kim to the instead of pushing Kim to the bottom, he did something different, which is something that we all wanted to see how he did the right thing at the end. Also, it's funny how the marshal writes in the paper everything that it was discussed. Now he continues, he wants to provide more details and what that is and how he wants to end everything. We follow Kim in Florida, we follow Kim in Florida, continuing his life. We follow Kim in Florida, where she follows her life. And I just love how we transition from one thing to the next easily. He worries about what is going to happen with Jean, and she goes early from her job. And she goes away early from her job. Where is she going? Where she's going to, she's going to a legal office where this was unexpected, but this is the beginning of her doing the right thing as well. In the last episode, she cried about every regret, and now in this episode, we can see how she's accepting that her life is legal. Her life is, doing the right thing, helping others, and also how she becomes a Jean lawyer at the end, which was so awesome. This is how she started, after all, in the documented cabinet. So this was awesome. Now, in that moment, you receive a call from Suzanne, and she notifies Kim that Jean was arrested and is going to testify against her. However, she doesn't do this. Jean wants to see her one last time before he goes to jail. However, the episode goes in another direction. I love how Saul Goodman is arrested, and we see him in his clothes, his iconic clothes. And finally, after so many years, Kim and Jimmy see each other again one last time. The show started in a courtroom, and we're in a courthouse, and it makes sense it was going to end in a courthouse. After all, the show has been always about jail and doing the right thing. This is what makes us fall in love with the story and the characters in the first place. Now in the courthouse, it shows how he will always had the control and repeating the story that he did. But Saul or Jimmy wants to provide everything. He changes. He decides to do the right thing in that moment. After seeing Kim is what motivated him to accept his regret. In a way, him seeing her again and seeing how life has changed for both of the characters, he decided to do what he always wanted to do the right thing by others. And it's something that we follow in that short conversation in a moment. He has a big regret in his life, and this connects to the time travel. He talked about his pain, and in the court, he was open to himself. If you remember, it was a long time before he. It was a long time that he was not in a courtroom after everything that happened in Breaking Bad. So I felt like him being in that space is where he allowed himself to open it up and just confess to everything. It was a beautiful moment where the character accept the regret in his life. I wanted to see color in something that we see in a moment where Chuck is back and this conversation of rather the simple times where he just wanted to be a lawyer, do the right thing, motivated by his brother. So this is why he decided to do this. But this connects to the H. Wells book, something we saw back in season 1, episode 6. At the beginning of the season, we saw this book in his house. We can confirm that he read this book, and this is why he thought about regret, which was a full circle kind of moment. But of course, the obvious thing about this is that Jimmy is going to be sent to jail. He is going to be famous in jail because he's Better Call Saul, but he's not longer that persona. He's now Jimmy going back to who he was really. And we even see him cooking, which is something that connects to his life as Gene. His lawyer is there, but who it is none other than Kim. She's back as a lawyer. This was awesome. And this meeting is something that I wanted to see as well, that conversation. I felt so many emotions during this scene. Their love is always going to be there. But back to the old times, smoking a cigarette and talk about just life. Gene is going to be so many years in jail, and pretty much he's going to die in jail. How his life is going to be back to color? Well, it's not. He has to accept that his life is without color, and that the thing that gave him color in his life is gone. It's something that we have to accept as well. But at the end, where he just does the iconic something that Kim did, was so beautiful. It was simple. It was a simple ending. It doesn't have to be extra. It doesn't have to be more. It's just simple. Of course, I wanted to see color in his life, but that's the thing about life and about this show. It cannot be the way we want it. We have to accept that things are gonna be different. We have to accept that we make our decisions, and those decisions have a big consequences in our life. But what are your thoughts on the ending? Leave your comments below. What a beautiful way to end the show. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Christian from me and Premiere, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, one.